So today we're talking with Will Shortz, who is a renowned puzzle creator and editor. He's best known for his role as the crossword editor for the New York Times, and he also serves as NPR's puzzle master on their Sunday show. Will grew up in Crawfordsville, Indiana, on an Arabian horse farm, and became interested in puzzles as a child. Will sold his first puzzle at the age of 14, and by 16, he was a regular contributor to Dell Puzzle Publications. Will attended Indiana University, where he created his own major, earning a degree in enigmatology. His thesis focused on the history of American word puzzles before 1860, and he went on to earn a law degree from the University of Virginia, but he never took the bar. Instead, Will began working at Penny Press, then at Games Magazine, where he stayed for 15 years until becoming the crossword editor for the New York Times in 1993. Will is also the founder of the American Crossword Puzzle Tournament and the World Puzzle Championship, and the co-founder of the World Puzzle Federation. To date, Will is the author or editor of more than 500 puzzle books. Hi, Will.
Nice to meet you, Gia.
Nice to meet you. So we're going to start with a little rapid fire, so to speak, word association game. So I'll say a word, and then you just tell me what comes to your mind.
Okay.
First, second. New York Times.
Crossword, of course.
NPR.
NPR. Well, I'll say Puzzle Master. That's my title there.
Sunday Puzzle.
Sunday Puzzle. Well, I do that on NPR. The current host of the show that I'm on is Aisha Rasco. She has this wonderful voice and a wonderful personality. She just throws herself into the puzzle.
What about the Sunday New York Times puzzle?
Yeah. What I like about the New York Times crossword is that it's sophisticated. I think it has more intellectual heft than any other crossword you can find.
Clinton versus Dole.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's the my all-time favorite crossword. Appeared on Election Day in 1996 when Clinton and Bob Dole were running. And the crossword in that day's newspaper, as people were voting, predicted the headline in the next day's newspaper, which could be either Clinton elected or Bob Dole elected. Either answer worked with the crossing words.
4-letter word.
My own language is pretty clean. I don't tend not to use 4-letter words, except unless when I'm playing table tennis and I mess up, I can say some 4-letter words then.
The Simpsons.
Well, The Simpsons, of course, is a great show. And I was on it years ago, and they had a segment where Lisa competes in a crossword tournament. And a friend and colleague of mine made a crossword for the New York Times, which appeared on the day that the Simpsons episode showed, that was part of the episode.
Puzzle symmetry.
Yeah, most people don't realize that most crosswords have rotational symmetry, which means if you take the grid and rotate it 180 degrees, the pattern of black squares looks the same as it did right side up. And the reason for that is a puzzle that is symmetrical is more likely to draw the solver in.
Fan mail.
Fan mail. Yeah, I used to get a lot of fan mail and hate mail. Nowadays, everyone posts their comments on the crossword blogs.
Table tennis.
Table tennis, yeah, that's something I've been playing since I was a kid. I'm so fanatical about the game that, I used to play it every day. I played for 11 years, every single day for 11 years, 4 months in a row, until I had my stroke last year. But I'm back to playing table tennis now. I can't move my legs yet as I play, but I crouch and I do the correct stroke and put my body into the shot. And I think table tennis is helping me recover from my stroke.
Oreo.
Oreo, yeah, that's like the most popular brand name in crossword puzzles. And before I became the Times crossword editor, there were literally no brand names in the puzzles. But Oreo did appear in the puzzle occasionally because it's a combining form for mountain. So when my predecessor used Oreo in a crossword, the clue was always mountain combining form, as if anyone even knows what a combining form is. My feeling is that any well-known brand name, that's known nationally is fair game for a crossword.
Gimme.
Gimme, Gimme. What a great word. Well, I love informality in I love for the crossword to have the language that people use in everyday speech. So I remember early on in my editing back in 1994, 95, I had the answer "No way, Jose" as an answer in the crossword. And there was a solver in Bulgaria who wrote me. He had never heard the phrase "No way, Jose." He didn't think it was proper English and was not. This was not something that was should appear in a New York Times crossword. I thought this is a great answer because it's something that people really say, and
Right.
so everything in life is fair game for a puzzle.
And last of the rapid fire word association ones is the Riddler.
The Riddler, yeah. I was wrote the riddles for one of the Batman movies, Batman Forever. They were actually filming that film, and they had the entire script, but they needed 4 riddles, and they realized no one who wrote the script knew how to write a riddle. So they hear me on the radio, and the director called me and asked if I would make riddles for the movie. And so I did. My favorite one was, we are 5 little things of an everyday sort. You'll find us all in a tennis court. And the answer is the 5 vowels, because those are 5 things of an everyday sort, and they are found literally in the phrase "a tennis court" in order.
Okay. On your website, you call yourself a philosopher of puzzles. Can you define that?
I don't think I would ever call myself that. Somebody else called me that.
Okay.
A philosopher of puzzles. I think I understand puzzles pretty well, though, because as you said, I've studied their history. Back when I was a kid, I would go to my local college library, Wabash College in Indiana, and I went through the guide to periodical literature, and looked up every magazine article about puzzles that I could find in the 20th century, even going back to the 19th century. So I think I really understand puzzles and all the types and why people do puzzles.
So you are probably best known for your job at the New York Times. How did you get that job?
Gotcha. Well, my predecessor, Eugene T. Maleska, died in 1993, and they were looking for a successor. I think they chose me partly because I had been at Games Magazine for years and years, and of course I have the world's only college degree in puzzles. I think they liked me because, first of all, I was 37 years younger than my predecessor, and I think the person who hired me foresaw the coming electronic revolution, the digital revolution, that the crossword would appear not just in print and the newspaper, but would also appear online as it does now. And there are now literally millions of people who subscribe to the New York Times crossword online, and the puzzles have become a very profitable part of the newspaper, which supports the journalism that the paper does.
Yeah. Your role as the puzzle master on NPR actually came first, if I'm not mistaken. How did you get that job?
Gotcha. So NPR was starting this new show, Weekend Edition Sunday. The original host was Susan Stamberg, and her idea for this 2-hour weekly show was that it would have everything that would appear in a Sunday newspaper, but in radio form. And she was a crossword doer. She wanted to have some sort of puzzle on the show. Somehow she came to me, and so it worked out a format. You know what kind of puzzle works on the radio? It can't be like a crossword, which requires you to look at paper, and it can't be something that people take a long time to solve, because then you'd have long silences on the air, which is not good. So I came up with this format where originally I gave the puzzles to Susan, and she would give quick answers. Then Leanne Hansen became the host for years and years. And Leanne had the idea, rather than me testing her, and she was very good at puzzles, but she found herself in an unenviable position, because if she solved everything really quickly, then she was sort of a smart ass, and nobody likes a smart ass. And if she couldn't solve the puzzles, then she was a dumbass, and no one wants a host of a show who's a dumbass.
So before the NPR, you actually, before you were even 30 really, created the American Crossword Puzzle Tournament. So why Like, how did you kind of create this idea, and what was the first tournament like?
Gotcha. Well, as a kid, believe it or not, I had envisioned having a crossword championship. I'm sure I'm the only kid in the country who had thought of doing this. And I love puzzle people because they tend to be smart, interesting, well-rounded people, often with good sense of humor and with quirky minds. You know, they're my kind of people. I like to meet other puzzle people. So in 1978, there was a new hotel in Stamford, Connecticut, the Marriott Hotel. It had just opened, and the director of marketing had read about a British crossword tournament. He had an idea of having a crossword tournament at his hotel to bring in business on a slow winter weekend. I was working at Penny Press at the time, so he called me, and what I did was I came up with this format for the tournament, and I asked 5 really good crossword constructors to create puzzles for the tournament. And it appeared on the first weekend of March in 1978. We had 148 contestants that first year. It was such a success that it's the tournament has been held every year since. This year's championship, I think, will be the 47th annual, and we'll have around 1,000 participants this year. In fact, registration opened on January 1, and we sold out in 14 days.
Wow.
It's never had anything like that before. Next year, I'm going to have to move the event somewhere else, just because we've outgrown the Stamford Marriott Hotel.
How long does it take you to create a crossword puzzle?
Gotcha. I don't actually make many crosswords myself because there are so many great puzzle makers. That's not my specialty. I think I'm best at coming up with an original, some new idea, like what I do on the radio every Sunday. And I also do a variety of puzzles like spiral and puzzle types that I've invented. How long does it take? It can take, I tell you, I often, as I'm lying in bed at night waiting to go to sleep, I create constraints on myself. What if you combine, an anagram with some other type of wordplay, and then an idea will come to me. And often I will work out part of a puzzle as I'm lying in bed at night. And then I have the dilemma, I'm half asleep at this point, but I've got this great puzzle in my mind. Should I turn on the light and get up and write this down so I do not forget this idea? Or do I try really hard to remember it and when I wake up in the morning? And I'm lazy enough that I usually just go to sleep and hope that I remember it in the morning. I'm sure I've lost a lot of great ideas this way.
Do you or any of your puzzle makers ever use the internet or AI to help create puzzles?
Gotcha. I don't think AI is going to help at this point because only a human knows what an interesting crossword answer is and what is fair to solvers. And only a human can come up with an original crossword theme, and only a human can come up with an original crossword clue. So I think AI could create a mediocre or poor puzzle, but it can't create a great puzzle.
How many puzzle creators or editors work at the Times?
So when I started at the Times in 1993, it was me, and I had a part-time assistant. And over the years, starting around 2000, I started having a summer intern to help me catch up on correspondence, because I answered all the mail that came in and edited the puzzles and proofread them and sent the information for payments. It was just an incredible amount of work. I was doing like 80 hours of work a week. And I didn't complain because I love the work so much. But no one can continue at a pace like that for your whole life. You'll just kill yourself. So around 2000, I got a summer intern. Then around 2006 or 7, I started having an assistant for the full year. And now the department, I think, has 7 or 8 creative people, and the entire games staff, including programmers and customer service people and everyone else that goes into making the online games possible. There's probably over 100 people at the New York Times in the games department.
Wow. And are they all games fanatics?
Most of them love it. I think just about everybody loves games, yeah.
Okay, I have a couple of questions about favorites. What's your favorite word?
Um, yeah, let me think about this. My favorite word is ucalegon. It's Ucalegon. It's a neighbor whose house is on fire. I love the word because it's so bizarre. How would you ever use that in conversation?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Do you have a favorite crossword puzzle clue that either you or one of your creators has created?
Gotcha. I do. I'll tell you one I wrote recently that I like a lot. The answer was dinner theater, and my clue was play with one's food.
I like it.
My classic favorite, though, was the answer spiral staircase, and my clue was it may turn into a different story.
Huh. Do you play any of the like strands or connections of the
Yeah, I
New York
do.
Time ones?
I do. I play Wordle every day, usually a few minutes after midnight. I used to wonder, I would solve, get the answer, say, at 12:01 or 12:02, and then I'm told that there were already 4,000
Wow.
other people who, this is what other people in your situation have done. Thought, how is that possible? So many people have done the puzzle already. And it's because, and there is a reason for that, it's because the puzzle becomes available at whatever your time zone is. So when I was in China last year, solving Wordle just after midnight Beijing time, that was, hours and hours ahead of U.S.
Right.
time.
That's kind of cool. This is a question from our copy editor who has one of your crossword puzzle books sitting on her nightstand. What do you do to relax?
Gotcha. Well, I get asked that a lot, actually, and my favorite activity outside of puzzles is table tennis, which I play. Well, I used to play every day. I did not miss a single day for 11 years and 4 months, which was 4,141 days in a row. And I had my stroke on February 4 of last year, which broke the stroke when I was at Northern Westchester Hospital. My partner asked the staff if they would bring in a ping pong table for me so I could keep my streak going. And not surprisingly, they said no, they couldn't do that. So my streak was stopped, which is okay. I'm back to playing table tennis again. I play it a lot, but I don't feel compelled to play it every day.
So it maybe in a little bit of a way was a nice adjustment to maybe not feel that compulsion.
It is a little bit of a relief. Like I would like to go to Australia, but you cannot travel. You cannot get from New York to Australia without missing a day on the calendar. In fact, it's very hard not to miss 2 days on the calendar. About 10 years ago, the World Puzzle Championship was held in Bangalore, India, and I'm the founder of this event, and I go to wherever it's held every year. And you cannot fly from New York to Bangalore without missing a day on the calendar, which I couldn't do. So a friend and I flew to Dubai, stopped there, and played table tennis for 2.5 days, and then we flew on to Bangalore for the tournament.
Yeah, it constricts you, right?
It does constrain you.
Okay, you have, I believe, the largest puzzle library in the world.
I probably do.
What is the most unusual or surprising item in your collection?
Gotcha. One of my best items is the world's first crossword puzzle book, which was published in 1924 by Simon & Schuster and set off a national and then an international craze. And that's when crosswords first became popular. So I not only have the first book, but I have the first copy that came off the printing press, and it was signed by Dick Simon and Lincoln and Max Schuster, saying that they're hoping that this book launches the crossword puzzle craze.
Okay, how did you get that book?
A friend of mine who's a book dealer had access to this book, and he thought it would be perfect for me. I'll tell you another cool thing. I have the only known copy of the world's first crossword in private hands. It appeared in the New York World newspaper on December 21, 1913. And a newspaper dealer, all the bound volumes of the New York World used to be held by the New York Historical Society, and they deaccessioned them. All these volumes were in a warehouse in Mount Vernon. This dealer friend I know knew that I was interested in the crossword. He was interested in the comic sections from the newspaper, but the warehouse had so much dust he couldn't go in there. So we made a deal that he would allow me to go in and remove the comic sections and the puzzle sections from the newspaper. I would give the comic sections to him and keep the puzzle sections to myself. So that's how I got the only known copy of the world's first crossword, and I got it for free.
Did you wear a mask to protect yourself from all the dust, or?
I don't know. I didn't think it was that bad, actually. So it was February 4 last year. I was at my other house, and
Which is located where?
it's here in Pleasantville
Okay.
on Great Oak Lane. I had played table tennis, and I was in my office working. And I leaned left on my desk and realized I couldn't lean back right. I had drool coming down the side of my mouth. I knew I'd had a stroke. Because it was winter and I was still in my table tennis clothes, well, I knew I was going to have to go to a hospital. So I wanted to put on something warm. So I was able to walk into my bedroom, put on long pants. Then I decided, well, if I'm going to the hospital, I really should go to the restroom before I go. So I walked into the bathroom and used the restroom and realized, at that point, I crumpled to the floor. And I knew I needed help. I didn't have my phone on me. My phone was back in the desk in my office. So I was lying on my back. Basically, I couldn't even get up on my hands and knees. I squirmed on my back all the way into my office, pulled papers off the desk so the phone would fall down on the floor, and I called my partner and said, "I've had a stroke, come help me." And he was in this house, and he came over just within a couple of minutes. I mean, the ring, he showed me the film from our ring in the front door, showed him running out of the house to come get me. And he called an ambulance. I was at Northern Westchester Hospital for 10 days. I had actually recovered from the stroke by the time the EMTs came. And I was able to walk down all the steps to the street to the ambulance. But they gave me a shot to remove the blood clot in my brain. And unfortunately that caused a side reaction, which gave me another stroke. I might actually have survived all right if I hadn't gone to the hospital. So that's what happened. And it's been a challenge, it has changed my life. First of all, I was in the hospital for 10 days, and then I was in Burke Rehabilitation Center for 20 days. And then I went to a subacute facility. I should have been there for longer, but the American Crossword Puzzle Tournament was coming up the first weekend in April, and I really wanted to go to this. So I left the subacute facility and went to the tournament, and it was a very emotional time. People knew that I'd had a stroke, and they were so happy to see me, because this is an event that I've done every year since 1978.
Were you able to walk at that point?
I was in a wheelchair at that point. I've progressively gotten better since my stroke. I do therapy 7 days a week. I go to a place in Tarrytown called Rehabologym, which bills itself as a neuro-robotic rehabilitation center. So they have expert therapists, but you play a lot of games and do a lot of challenges to improve yourself, and that's been very good.
What type of games?
Well, for example, there'll be games on a computer screen, and for my arm, they'll put my arm in a device, and I can go skiing, or I can be on a racetrack to avoid hitting other cars. Mm-hmm. My favorite game there is something called Kix, Q-I-X, which is a geometrical game of capturing territory on the screen. And I'm moving my arm around as much as I can to capture territory. So this is very helpful. I'm an outpatient at Phelps Hospital in Sleepy Hollow once or twice a week. I have a therapist come to my house once a week, and my partner, Shiroz, does a lot of stuff with me. And I play table tennis on top of all that. So my goal is to get back as close to possible as I can to my old physical self. And I'm getting better all the time. Now I do most of my walking even without a cane, and the wheelchair is long gone.
Yeah. Okay. I want to ask you a question about the documentary Wordplay that
Yeah.
was created about you in 2006.
Yeah.
One of the things you said in it was that the best part of your week is reading the mail. You mentioned earlier that now people just really comment
On
in the
blogs.
comments. Yeah. Do you still get any mail?
If there's a mistake in the crossword, people will write, but there's not so much mail now. Most of the responses I get are from people in person, saying what they liked or what they didn't like.
Do you read the comments?
Sometimes I do, yeah.
Are they mostly positive or are people mostly complaining?
It's mostly positive. There are some people who complain, and that's fine. There is one blog that's really very critical of the Times crossword, and when I was starting out, I found that valuable to see what this
Yeah.
person didn't like, so I'm going to try to please him. But most of the comments now I think are positive.
Who picks reader submitted puzzles?
Gotcha. Used to be, it was just me. Crosswords used to be submitted on paper by mail, and I went through every one of them and responded to everyone personally, often with a few words saying what I liked or didn't like. And nowadays, the puzzles are submitted electronically through a portal that the New York Times has set up. So people submit their puzzles in PDF form. Some of my colleagues look at all the submissions that come in, and they pick the ones that are most promising, and then we all get together and have what we call a maybes meeting, where we hash out the puzzles we like and the ones we're the ones we're going to say no to. Even the ones that we like, we say maybe we'll send it back and ask for a new corner in the upper right, or we talk about what day of the week a puzzle will appear. Monday being the easiest, and then
Right.
building up to very hard on Friday and Saturday.
How many do you get a week, do you think?
We get over 150 submissions a week, and we can publish only 7, obviously. So
Right.
there are lots of perfectly fine crosswords that we just can't
Yeah.
say yes to.
Do you have a couple of people who you've published numerous puzzles?
Yes. Well, first of all, last year I think we published more than 180 different puzzle contributors during the year. Many of them had only one puzzle, obviously, but others could appear 10 or 12 or 15 times if they're prolific and just really, really good.
Who are crossword puzzles good for?
Of course, I think crosswords are good for everybody. I hear once in a while someone will tell me I'm not a puzzle person. I'm thinking, how can that be that you're not a puzzle person? I think some people, if you're solving a puzzle and you can't finish it, maybe you feel defeated or that you're inadequate. And of course, you shouldn't feel that way. But I think some people don't like to be tested or don't like to be put in the position of potentially failing. But I think crosswords are good for everyone. A number of years ago, I had a brain specialist at my house, and we were talking about crosswords, and I said that crosswords are good for every part of the brain. They exercise every part of the brain. He said, no, that's not quite true. Crosswords are great, but they exercise most of the brain, but not all of it. And later on, I mentioned that I play table tennis. And he said, table tennis exercises every part of the brain that crosswords don't.
Huh.
So I think I get an all-round brain workout every day.
So speaking of table tennis, that goes right into my next question. Tell me a little bit about how you first started table tennis and when you became really passionate about it.
Gotcha. Well, I grew up as you said, an Arabian horse farm in Indiana. My family had a ping pong table in the rec room, so I played a lot and was self-taught. Obviously, I didn't have anybody to give me instruction. I won some trophies when I was in junior high and high school, which now appear. I now have them on display at my club here in Pleasantville. I played up till around 1986. When I got busy with other things, I stopped for 15 years. And my best friend at the time knew how much I loved ping pong, and she found a club for me in 2001 here in Westchester County. They played in Hastings on Hudson at the community center. So I picked up the game again, playing twice a week really. And then there was another club that was playing at the Burke Rehabilitation Center in White Plains, so I started playing there. The Hastings Community Center closed after a few years because they demolished it and was going to build a new one. So I had to find a new place to play, and I found a community center in what town is it down there?
Dobbsbury.
Yeah, it's right next to Hastings. Ardsley, sorry, let me say again. I had to find a new place to play, so I found the Ardsley Community Center allowed us to play twice a week, and the Boys and Girls Center in Tarrytown allowed us to play twice a week, so I was up to 4 days a week of playing then. And then the Hastings Center reopened, so now we had 2 more days, and I was playing 6 days a week because I was fanatical about this. Then my now best friend, came from Barbados in 2006, and he did not have he was very good at table tennis. He was 3-time champion of the Caribbean, but he wanted to play table tennis, but he didn't have a car here. So I became his driver, and that's how we became best friends. So we opened up our club here in Pleasantville in 2011, and we're open 7 days a week. We have 30 tables. We're open every night till 10 o'clock, and it's a place for all levels of players, from absolute beginners up to some of the top players in the country.
So you'd mentioned, I think twice already, this streak of 4,141 days. How did that begin?
Gotcha. Well, it started by accident. I played like 39 days in a row until I missed a day. It was no big deal. And then I had a streak going for 180 some days, and I was at the World Puzzle Championship in Croatia. And I had a club lined up where the tournament was, where I would play. But when I couldn't read Croatian signs, and when I got to the place, they were closing a little early, and I missed that day. I thought, damn, there goes my streak. And I heard some filmmakers heard about this. And they said, tell you what, if you'll start a new streak, we'll give you a camera and set you up so that you can film yourself playing every day, and we'll make a film about it at the end, which is what I did. So I played for 365 days, and at the end of the year, I wasn't just going to stop.
Right.
I kept the streak going. If you go onto YouTube and search for my name and table tennis streak, you can see a little film about me playing table tennis every day for a year.
I'll go look. What do you wish more people knew about table tennis? Like one fact.
It's funny. You see people come in to our club and they'll play games to 21 points. That's the rule that it was when we were growing up. But the rule changed in around 2001, where games today are played to 11 points. So it doesn't matter, you
Right.
just come in and enjoy the game, whatever your level is. But I think that's a fact most people don't know. Games are to 11.
Okay, I have a couple of pop culture questions for you. So this morning, I was just searching your name just to find some more fun facts, and I saw that you were on several TV shows. How I Met Your Mother was one of them, which I loved when it was on. And so the episode that you're in, which was in season 5, Ted Mosby is very excited to meet you at a party he kind of snuck his way into. So my first question based on that episode is, approximately how many times have you used the word Yuli from Yuli's Gold?
Oh, I can look that up. There's a website
Oh, yeah?
that'll tell me exactly how many times ULEE has appeared in a New York Times crossword.
Is the fact true that you use it often because of the vowels?
Yes, if you're constructing a crossword, you will find that short words with lots of vowels are very useful in construction. And that's why you see the Alou brothers, A-L-O-U, so often in crosswords. Their names are just so useful for puzzle making, or Una O'Neill, O-O-N-A, or even, Uma Thurman, U-M-A. Anything short with lots of vowels is going to be popular. We don't try to put those in, but they facilitate other interesting vocabulary. The most common answer in New York Times crosswords is ERA, which is nicely, you can clue in so many ways. It's the historical time period. It is earned run average in baseball. It's the Equal Rights Amendment. They're just, and it's part of the Eras Tour.
There you go. Yep.
So it's just a very useful answer. No one minds putting era in a crossword.
Of the shows, some of the shows that you've done, How I Met Your Mother, The Simpsons, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, do you have a favorite? Maybe it was the cast or just how you were, who you were in the episode.
I think the high point has to be The Simpsons, because that's an iconic show, and to be in that indicates a certain level of that your name is familiar with people.
Yeah.
So that was very cool.
Was it difficult to write the riddles for Batman Forever?
Yes, it was. I'll tell you why. Because I not only had to write a riddle, but there had to be a number in each one. They said it didn't matter what the number was. They could work that into the script, but whatever riddle I wrote had to include a number. That's why the riddle I gave you were 5 little things of an everyday sort. That's the reason for the 5.
Last question. What advice do you have for either budding or experienced crossword solvers?
Gotcha. Well, I would recommend that if you love crosswords, that you should come to the American Crossword Puzzle Tournament, which I run every year. Up till now, it's been at Stamford, Connecticut, and next year will probably be somewhere else where we have a bigger venue. And it doesn't matter whether you win or lose. It doesn't matter. And there are prizes in more than 20 categories based on your skill level and your age and your where you live. And there's a whole category for rookies, for first-timers. So the thing to do is just come and enjoy the camaraderie of these other smart, interesting, funny, quirky people, and enjoy a really nice set of puzzles.
How old? What's the minimum age to enter?
There's no minimum age or oldest age. We had our youngest winner is 20 years old, which is the one that was shown in Wordplay. We've had 2 winners at 54 years old. I think it's interesting that crossword competition can have such a broad range of ages, because very few other activities are like that. With sports, usually if you're by the time you're 40, you're probably over the hill. But with crosswords, it helps to have quick reactions. That's how the 20-year-old won. But as you get older, you acquire more and more knowledge, and you use your skills to solve. So you can become a really good champion solver at an older age. Our oldest contestant this year will be 99 years old. Wow. She actually won the tournament in 1979, and she comes back every year. And she always wins her age category, whatever that is. When she turned 90, 9 years ago, I introduced a 90s category so that she would win the trophy for that category. And now next year, she's likely to win I'm sure she'll win the trophy for 100 years and over.
So what's the youngest age category that you have?
We have 25 and under.
Okay.
If you're under 25, I figure you just don't have enough knowledge to be a champion, because it helps to know older movies and older songs and older sports. And you just have to know so much to be a crossword champion.
Okay, thank you.
It was a pleasure, Gia.